I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Here.
Ms. Elder,
Here.
Mayor Gallo, Mr. Love,
Here.
Reverend Lucas, Ms. McPherson,
Here.
Ms. Pachetti,
Here.
Mr. Sleesman,
Here.
Mayor Weiss. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First item we have on the committee session is an update on the airport terminal modernization program. And we have two individuals, Brian Francis and Dennis Kramer, here from the Port Control and Airport Development. So if you have other comments, Doc, I'll let you make the introductions too.
Good morning, everyone. India Birdsong Terry, GM and CEO. I'd like to just kind of set the tone today. We've got two presentations. The first, as Mayor Kumar mentioned, are our friends from the airport. We appreciate you being here. Really, this is a day of information sharing, so I wanted to make sure that we were able to advise everyone again. No voting is required today. This is really just as information. We want to make sure that we bring updates to you, especially updates that we are not necessarily paying for, but we are the beneficiaries of when it comes to additional infrastructure that will benefit our customers. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Flonse Caver, who is our Deputy General Manager of Operations. And then I want to say following this one, we will have an update on the West 25th BRT project. That's another info item for your awareness of what's going on with major capital projects, and we'll do the same thing as far as introduction with Michael Shipper, Deputy for Engineering. So take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the committee, and members of the board. I'm Flonse Caver, the Chief Operating Officer and Deputy General Manager of Operations here at RTA. On November 15, 1968, the Red Line was extended to Hopkins International Airport, making Cleveland the first city in the Western Hemisphere to offer direct rapid transit services to its major airport. For more than 56 years, this vital connection has served the residents and visitors of Greater Cleveland, linking our neighborhoods, downtown, and airport with convenient and reliable service. Our current Board of Trustees has a special connection to this historic milestone, as the father of our former board president and current board member, Reverend Charles Lucas, his father was Mr. Charles P. Lucas Sr., casted the deciding vote that made the airport extension possible. A commemorative plaque honoring this achievement is proudly displayed in the Tower City Rapid Station. This year, Cleveland Hopkins International Airport celebrates its 100th year of operation and is embarking on the Clevolution, a major investment and redesign and modernization of the airport. This investment ensures that the airport continues to serve as a powerful economic engine for Cleveland and our entire region. As part of the redesign, the airport would introduce a new customer-facing head house, and as a result, will relocate and build a new state-of-the-art terminal station at the airport. This new facility will deliver a modern, seamless experience for travelers arriving to Cleveland and for those connecting to downtown and destinations throughout our city. Today, we are honored to have with us Brian Francis and Dennis Kramer here to provide an update on this exciting new project and partnership, Clevolution.
Good morning, RTA board, leadership, staff, and members of the public. Dennis and I appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you to introduce Clevolution, our campaign for the multi-phase, multi-year transformation of the guest experience at Cleveland Hopkins. We're incredibly excited about this bold new vision, and we hope that you are as well. We greatly value our long-standing relationship with RTA, and we're looking forward to the future collaboration around the execution of our guest experience transformation. So we'd like to start with a video overview of CLE before introducing our plans for Clevolution in greater detail, and I will play the video now. So CLE is the busiest passenger airport in the state of Ohio. Transitioning from our past as a hub to our present as an origin and destination airport has created the list of challenges we routinely experience today. This is compounded by the fact that our terminal facilities are aging. The earliest phase debuted in 1955, and the newest opened in 2004, but hasn't been used since the hub closure in 2014. Technology, innovation, efficiency, spaciousness, inclusiveness in welcoming and accommodating all users. Clevolution is the solution for our current challenges, which includes swells of outbound passenger activity in the early morning hours, an inefficient TSA security checkpoint layout with 3 locations, a deficit of overall space for easy flow of our guests throughout the departures level, a lack of public parking capacity, and roadway congestion both entering the airport and at our terminal's upper and lower level curbside. Unveiled in early May, our new vision is currently centered around the land side, up to and including the TSA security checkpoints. There will be a future focus on the concourses and boarding gate areas. However, the land side is where we have the greatest need for improvements. And with that, I'll introduce Dennis Kramer, who will now walk through a familiarization of the landside program elements. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning again, everyone. I will get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of what the upcoming terminal modernization development program will be. And so if you take a look here at the screen, this is what our final configuration is intended to look like. As Bryant mentioned, we're going to have a heavy focus on the landside program and then eventually move later into the concourses. And so you can see here the elements of the program on the left of the screen there. You can see that new surface lot next to existing Concourse D. That's a project we're working on. We're procuring a team right now to deliver that project. It'll be called the Gold Lot. It will have shuttles that will take you to the existing terminal. It'll also have a new walkway if people were to choose to just decide to walk. After we bring on the Gold, the reason we're bringing on the Gold Lot is to add additional parking. Because when we get into later stages, we're going to start losing parking as we develop new facilities, right? And so Gold Lot comes online, we're going to add about 1,600 parking spaces. That allows us to take down the orange lot, which is the lot closest to State Route 237, and start building our new parking structure, which includes the new RTA station and our new ground transportation center. So you can see it right there, kind of at the bottom of the screen. The first element of that will be to build the new RTA station because it will be on the lowest level of the structure. It will be a completely brand new station. We're going to relocate from where we are today and kind of straighten out the track. Right now the track kind of curves into our facility. We're going to kind of straighten out that track and bring it right under the new parking structure that'll be built. It'll be a 6,000 space parking garage. The very end of it there, that'll have a vertical core transportation node that will take people up. Eventually, there'll be walkways to go over to the new terminal. There'll be above ground walkways and underground walkways to get people to the existing terminal for now, and then eventually to the new terminal. Finally, once all that comes online, we will start building the new head house. You can kind of see that there in the middle of the screen, and that'll be a completely brand new ticket hall, baggage claim, security screening, all of those functions at the front of the house. A completely new head house that will kind of be the final piece of the landside program. And so now I have a quick video here to kind of show all that in video form.
Evolution, a bold departure from the past as we evolve to meet the needs of today's travelers while paving the way for the future of aviation in Northeast Ohio. Our journey starts with Phase 1, which will completely transform the airport's landside. Step 1. The site of the demolished hotel will be available for construction laydown. The existing aircraft apron adjacent to Concourse D will be converted to surface parking called the Gold Lot. A new RTA station will be constructed with a tunnel connector to the existing RTA platform, providing access to the existing terminal. A new ground transportation center will be constructed. A new 6,000 space parking garage will be constructed over the new RTA station. Step 2. The existing garage and pedestrian bridge will be demolished for a new terminal. Step 3. Existing structures will be demolished to make way for new roadways. The new terminal will be constructed with new departure and arrival roadways. Above the roadways, a new pedestrian bridge will connect the new garage to the new terminal. Pedestrian walkways will be constructed connecting the new terminal to concourses A and C, then to concourse B. Step 4. The existing terminal will be demolished. A new surface lot next to the garage will be constructed. A new pedestrian walkway to concourse A will be constructed. Step 5. Temporary walkway to concourse A will be demolished. A new sterile corridor will be built to connect to the new terminal's international arrivals facility. With Phase 1 complete, CLE is paving the way for a world-class airport experience, built to shape the future of travel in Northeast Ohio and beyond.
So that just gives you a bit of a better look at what we are looking to create as the new experience, the new guest experience for Cleveland Hopkins. And Dennis will now talk about our timeline for development, and then I'll wrap things up.
As I mentioned earlier, procurement is underway for some of the elements of the program. The Gold Lot project, we have an active procurement out right now. We also have an active procurement out for our program manager, construction management team, and also the team that will deliver the parking garage, the new RTA station, and the ground transportation center. Those three are all active procurements that we're working through right now to bring on design build teams to really start moving these projects forward. You can see the timeline there. We're kicking things off this year. We're going to get heavy into design next year, and then looking to really start major construction at the end of next year. Those first couple elements will complete sometime around 2029, a few years of construction, and then once those all open, that'll free us up to start building the new head house, which we anticipate to start construction sometime in 2029 and wrap that up by 2032.
So as you heard and saw on the screen, it will take us a few years to get from today to tomorrow, if you will. And that really is just a function of the fact that we are operating on a very compact site. And so we can't do all things at once. We have to do it in phases and literally in the order that you just saw on the video. So thank you, Dennis, for walking us through that. So in closing, our aim is to deliver the type of guest experience that all users enjoy and that Northeast Ohioans are proud of. A new front door has long been needed, and we will deliver on that goal, inclusive of a heightened experience for RTA and its users. Your new rail cars are coming, and soon after there will be a new airport station for them to access Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. CLE is a critical regional asset, contributing multi-billions of dollars into the local economy, and one that has the capability to increase its contribution as it evolves. Clevolution literally is that name that we've come up with, is about the evolution of CLE. It's really reflecting on the first 100 years of our service to the community, and then focusing on the future 100 years and looking to up our level of service to the community in Northeast Ohio. So Clevolution will position us strongly for the future to reach levels of success not otherwise possible. We're extremely excited. There's much more work to come. There'll be a lot of news coming forward as well as we advance through the elements of the program. And if you're interested in following our journey, please visit itsaclevolution.com for the latest news on the development plans. That's where we'll share all of that, but we, of course, will also be very visible in sharing that news throughout the community as well. So again, this is something that I believe is long overdue for Northeast Ohio, and we're very anxious to go forward with our ambitious plans and fully intend to deliver. So with that, I thank you for your time this morning, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have.
Just one thing I
Yes.
found interesting, I heard this presentation earlier this year in a different setting, and you talked a little bit about the current size of the head house versus what's proposed and what that means to the experience in processing
Yes.
passengers and future growth.
Yes, sir. So the current head house compared to the new head house, there really is no comparison. It's not apples to apples, and that's a good thing in this case. So we're going from a facility that's somewhere around 330,000 square feet to one that will be certainly well over twice that size. And so if you think about the facility today, when you walk in the door, and it's tight in terms of there's not enough depth from the front door to the ticket counters. The footprints for the TSA checkpoints are too small, and there's too many of them. The baggage claim areas, not, again, enough space for flow. Certainly not enough space for the flow on the departures level. So what we're looking to create is obviously moving towards something that is more modern, that is technology forward, but that is also more accommodating, not only for the level of activity that we see today, but something that we can grow into for years to come, and that we intend to design so that it has the ability to be expanded as needed into the future. So that's certainly one of our top goals and priorities, is to ensure that we deliver a facility that is easier to use, that's more welcoming and inviting. Also, might sound simple, but open and airy, bright and spacious, those are all important things as well, because I think from a travel standpoint, I think air travel has sort of some natural amount of anxiety built into it, right? And so we want to do what we can to bring that down and to make people more comfortable when they're with us.
Thank you for that.
Certainly. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Trustee Elder here. I have more comments than questions. Just thank you for the work. I'm looking forward to this not only as a board member, but as someone who regularly travels, regularly catches our train to and from
Yes.
The airport, and just spends a lot of time there. So I'm really looking forward to this. In addition to the question about just the impact of the expansion of the physical space itself, what do we anticipate as far as expansion of jobs?
Very good question. So thank you for that. We don't have an exact number of the number of jobs that will be created, but it will be in the thousands, and it will span a number of years, right? Because we expect to start the construction on the Gold Lot, the new 1,600 space public parking facility, in the spring of next year. And then we're looking for the construction of the garage to begin in 2029. We have to demolish the existing garage after that. We have to then build the new head house. We then have to demolish the existing head house. So we're talking about a span of about 7 years. And for all the trades that'll be required, there'll be several thousand jobs that will be needed. And many of those jobs we fully expect to come from within the local community.
And thank you for that.
Certainly.
And then, do you anticipate any, challenges that maybe the public, would be interested to know about as you move forward in the development?
Thank you for that question. Also, the way that we're approaching this is in a way that we believe will have minimal impact on the user experience. We of course expect there will be some adjustments that will need to be made across that time and as we advance through the phases of the program. But because we are focusing on very specific areas, we're creating new parking in order to close the existing parking facility, the orange lot. So we're replacing that current facility, so that will still allow for the parking needs of our customers who prefer to use our surface parking program or product. And then the new head house, because it's going to be built what we'll call on the land side. So outside of security, it will be fenced off. It really won't be an impediment. One important thing to mention is about the new RTA station. So it will have a tunnel that will go under the roadway, under the existing garage site, which will become a construction site for the new head house, and connect up with the existing tunnel to get customers to the existing head house. So during construction, we will still have that access available. and that will continue to be underground. So that's one thing that we didn't mention, but that will be an element of the program, again, to minimize the disruption or the experience for customers during our transition to the newer facilities.
Thank you. And maybe I do have maybe one more question or more questions and comments contrary to what I said when I started talking. And maybe this is more of a question for us, but do we anticipate any disruptions with service to the RTA station?
Trustee Elder, yeah, I mean, we've been coordinating with the airport, quietly for a while, but we do know that at some point, the new tunnel they're building under the garage has to connect to our existing tunnel. So there will be a period during that closure when we go from our existing alignment to the new alignment. Certainly we will be working with them and their design build team to make sure that that's coordinated, work on the timing, and try to obviously minimize the time, but we know there's going to be a time where we will be stopping the red line at the Brook Park station. Mm-hmm. And we did this a few years ago when we upgraded the tunnel, 10 years ago. So, yeah, there will be something, and it certainly isn't determined, and we'll be working with the airport to minimize that, but also to be realistic so it gets done right, because it's going to last for 40 or 50 years.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, just to piggyback, I think, excuse me, Mike is absolutely correct. I'll take this moment to just mention that today is Customer Experience Day. And this is a really important piece of the puzzle because we're out there right now. Our customer experience team and performance management is out there with customers saying thank you, getting feedback. This kind of information is really setting in place and in motion what Mike mentioned, that there will be delays, but we should be able to be a lot more nimble and agile than we are now, to be able to also advise customers of what's going on. If you recognize when you first came in, there was a television out in the corner. If you hadn't noticed it, it's a transit TV. It's a newer kind of technology that was actually created in-house to be able to replicate the airport time. I don't know how you call them, the cloud screens that are in the airports to tell you when your next arrival is. We are starting to do that within our own system. So that is also a nod to the innovation that's going on at the airport. We are kind of dropping subtle hints here within RTA that we're going to be also on that same path.
Any further questions?
Yeah, good
Yes.
morning. Thank you for
Morning.
the overview today.
Certainly.
A monumental undertaking, and I think it'll be transformational from an impact standpoint. Trustee Elder, I think, brought the question up a little bit, but just wanted to get a bit of a better understanding of the next 4 years. What will the sort of structural role of RTA be on a regular basis, from sort of design to construction to realizing the tunnel on the station? I don't know, maybe it might be for you and for India, but.
So certainly we will continue, thank you for the question. We will continue our close coordination throughout the effort for the design process all the way through construction and opening. So it will be a partnership, a collaboration, and one where we're sharing all necessary information so that we collectively approach this in the right way and can be communicating the right messages to the public, so everyone understands what to expect and some general idea of how long each of the phases of the effort will take when we intend to complete the project. So it's going to just be an ongoing effort of close collaboration throughout the process. Thank you.
I think that's right. You'll notice a trend with some of the station rehabs and some of the newer station, whether it's here, whether it's Brook Park, whether it's the airport. Our engineering, operations, and really external affairs as well has a piece in this, as well as our legal teams are usually the ones, and of course I can't forget finance. So it's all hands on deck. We are, I think, as someone mentioned, it might have been Mike, kind of meeting behind the scenes. So we are continually having a series of meetings, whether it's virtual or in person, to be able to make sure that we're looking at the blueprints, to make sure that it also meets the customer's needs, and that turning radiuses are incorporated, and height with, and widths and canopies and those kind of things, so that the blueprints aren't surging ahead without us. We have been great partners with the airport to be able to make sure, and they've kept us up to speed as to what's going on to make sure that things are proceeding with RTA in mind. So I'm happy to say that we're at the table. More than likely, you may not see us there, but we are there. And so no presentation is made without a lot of painstaking hours before it.
Appreciate that. And my only other maybe comment then question would just be aspirationally that there's public engagement and rider engagement throughout the design process.
Certainly.
Morning. Thank you for the presentation, by the way. This is exciting. As someone who currently doesn't travel all that often, but will probably be doing so much more in the future, I look forward to traveling out of this airport and taking the train to it, which I regularly do. And to that extent, a couple questions on what that looks like for a traveler. Is that tunnel that's going to connect just during construction, or is that tunnel going to be the way to access the station even in the future?
So the first portion of the new tunnel will end under what will be the future site of the new head house. And so at that point, you would then transfer vertically up to the head house, or to the arrivals or the departures level. So temporarily, there will be a section that will continue beyond that will connect to the existing tunnel and allow for access to the existing head house. So once the new head house is built directly above that new tunnel, then the temporary portion will be closed off, as you'll have no need to go any further. Is there something? You can see it there. The eventual. So that's an image that I'm showing there, and you can see that that is, you'll have two options. You can either take a tunnel, or you can take the bridge.
Go across and then go down.
Now, I think if you're already on the lower level, that you would take the tunnel most likely, but there will be those two options depending on what your preference is because again, the new station will be below the new garage. So you can either go up and take the bridge across into the new head house, obviously not until sometime in 2032 when it opens, but from the time that the new station opens for regular business, the new tunnel will connect to the temporary tunnel, which will access the existing head house. So there will always be that connection to seamlessly get between the two facilities.
Excellent. The current tunnel feels like a bit of an afterthought. You kind of go down, and it feels like you should be going to the parking garage, and then you kind of have to hook off to the left to go to it. It would be great to have that feel like more of the default option, to be honest, and to feel open and airy, just like the terminal as you're designing it. So there's just a continuation of feeling to it. And I'd also, from an economic standpoint, I'd like to stress, if there is a ton of congestion and traffic, you guys have to worry about it from an operational standpoint. The easiest way to alleviate that is to have more people taking the train. For the city of Cleveland, if visitors are taking a $2.50 train rather than a $30 Uber ride, their budget for their trip all of a sudden gets a lot bigger, and they'll spend it, because that's generally how people travel. They spend up to a certain budget, and if it's spent locally on local restaurants, retail, et cetera, it means more for Cleveland. And also for visitors, I'm especially thinking I've been to plenty, actually 2 years ago we went to Orlando for the App to Transform conference, a huge conference. It was a public transit conference, and I'm pretty sure all of us just took an Uber or a Lyft because there's no other way to get there. Right. Whereas we have this direct connection that is not utilized as much as it could be, and I think people aren't as familiar. I lived downtown for 10 years and only left last summer, and I can't tell you how many people I would meet out and about and be like, oh, I didn't know there was a train that came right to my hotel. Oh, like, what was I doing? I don't know if they didn't look at something, if it wasn't obvious enough, but that was all, like, they felt it was a missed opportunity. All I could see was the dollar signs of their rental car or their Uber, and they could have been spending that at the bar that I was talking to them at. So I think this is and when I'm traveling, goodness knows, I'd much rather just hop on a train, go directly downtown where I'm going, and not have to worry about all the extra shuttles and rentals and wait and the stress and anxiety of figuring out where I gotta go. Oh, there's a train, takes me to town, let's go. So I really think that this is, hand in glove kind of thing. Like wherever that door is that leads from the airport to the train station, it's got to be kind of fictitious, really. I know we're two different authorities, two different agencies, two different operations, but this is going to mean a lot if that can really feel seamless to visitors and to residents alike.
Agreed. So again, that's where that close collaboration will be key going forward, and we certainly aim to create the best opportunity for your users and the experience to be elevated. Obviously, you're doing your part in bringing on new cars in coming years, and so shortly thereafter, we'll have the new facility online at the airport. Our partnership goes back to 1968, and as Doc said earlier, we were the first city in the U.S. to have a public rail connection between the downtown and its airport. I strongly believe in public transit, certainly from the standpoint of all of the visitors who are coming into the city and they're staying downtown. It's a great and easy way to go, and every 15 minutes for much of the day, you have that service available, and you take all of the congestion on the roadways, all the time, all those extra steps out of the equation. It just makes for a much easier overall journey. So hopefully we will see increased ridership as you do one part and we do another to take the overall user experience to the greatest level it's ever seen.
Yeah, thanks again. My father was a student at Case in 1968, and I'm sure for his classmates who lived out of town, this was a great thing to see the connection when they were still in school. And so to get a new generation of that connection is going to be great to see. I'm excited for this project. So thanks again for your time and presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sorry, just one more.
Certainly. Good morning.
Emily Pichetti. Thanks again, and I agree with a lot of my colleagues on many of the comments. This is very exciting, and thank you for the presentation. I do think this dovetails nicely with the new rail cars, so I think there is a lot that we can do to help reinforce traffic to the airport, so I think it's a win-win. And my only question is just in terms of a timeline. Do you foresee any risks or challenges that would cause delays in terms of your timeline? Major risks. I know there are many.
Of course.
The big ones.
Certainly. So thank you for the question. We think that we've built in time into the schedule for construction. So we wouldn't foresee anything that would be a major impediment to delivering within the timelines that we've shown here this morning. As you said, anything is possible, but I think as long as we continue to do the proper planning behind the scenes, that we're best prepared to execute in a timely manner and to keep things on track from a timeline perspective. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning, and the presentation and the videos, very informative, and we look forward to future updates.
Thank you for your time, everyone. Have a great day.
Next, we'll have an update on the West 25th Street project.
So as customary with this one is an information item only. As you probably have seen, whether it's in the news or a conversation at the grocery store or perhaps at church or on the way to walk your dog, there's probably been a conversation about West 25th somewhere in there. BRT is what we are known for here at RTA. And this is a pretty transformative project that I think will be able to assist with some of the traffic congestion that hits the Clark-Fulton area, but particularly the West 25th corridor. I'm going to actually punt this over to Mike Shipper, who will then punt it over to Joe Schaefer, who will give an update on the project.
Sure. Members of the committee, this project, and Joe talked about it a little bit, but from the planning standpoint, this project we've been looking at for quite a while. We did enter into a design and environmental project contract at the beginning of last year. We've had a number of public outreach activities since January of last year. The design has progressed quite a ways. We have obtained funding from ODOT for $12 million of the program. We have submitted to the Federal Transit Administration a couple things. We've submitted a final environmental document, which is under final review. And we've also submitted for a small starts grant at $20.5 million. And that's kind of the closure piece on the funding. But the project has moved on. We've had significant input from our riders, from the community development corporations, and from the businesses. And we've had people on both sides of our concept, but we are going forward with the BRT concept, and we are having another public open house tonight. So we felt that it was appropriate to brief the board as we're going back out to the public again tonight. So with that, I think Joe has a short presentation on where we are.
Mike, just one quick question before Joe starts. That public open house, where is it and what time?
That's at the Old Deaconess. It's from 5 to 6:30, I believe.
Thank you.
Yes.
And there is free parking.
We'll provide that information via Brent to the board as information as well. If you'd like to attend, we appreciate you having that support. This is our fourth.
Of the public open houses, this is the third.
Third.
But it's, again, we've had a lot of smaller stakeholder meetings up and down the corridor throughout the program. But for public open houses, this will be the third eventually of what will be four. And the fourth one will be focused more on the construction.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Mayor Kumar, members of the board, here is the presentation on Metro Health Line BRT. I'm pleased to present this. This is the third BRT I've worked with here, Euclid and Clifton being the first two. And what is BRT? BRT was developed to try to give bus users a more rail-like experience. And some of the elements that we're going to have on the Metro Health Line on West 25th are dedicated bus lanes, so like a dedicated right-of-way, transit signal priority for buses, and enhanced curbside stations, a family of similar stations that really are iconic for the route. As Mike talked about, we've had a number of meetings, we started planning this in April of 2020. We've had a number of open houses, meetings with Ohio City stakeholders, and we are working now towards 90% design submittal. Here's another graphic representing the schedule that indicates that right now we're working in fall of 2025, we're working on the 90% design plans and expecting those in November. And then the winter will go to 100% with bidding in late next year and construction in 2027. The planning process was very thorough. We came up with a number of things that we wanted to highlight: the community outreach and engagement, the inclusion of the curbside stations, ADA adjustments for station access. So we're redoing curb ramps, adding crosswalks, and generally making sure that these stations are fully accessible. Lane configuration adjustments for the bus lane, traffic signal phasing and timings, transit signal priority as much as we have on Euclid, and to coordinate pedestrian and bicycle connections, of which there are quite a few projects in motion in the city at the same time as this project. Here's an interesting graphic that shows over $1 billion of economic development in the corridor area. Like say in the center there, you see Centro Via 25, and then other projects are highlighted throughout the route. The corridor extends from Detroit Road at West 25th Street in Ohio City through Tremont, Clark Fulton, Brooklyn Center, and all the way to Old Brooklyn at State and Pearl intersection. The estimated total cost is approximately $52 million. The route is approximately 4 miles. Here's a graphic of the bus station design. The panels can be replaced with different colors or public art, other options, but the family of stations will be similar through the whole route, where you'll have blue light phones, security cameras, real-time information, and a covered waiting area, among others. Here are some of the features of the project. We're going to resurface the entire roadway. That way the new pavement markings will stand out and it'll provide a uniform look to the corridor. Crosswalk enhancement, we've added back some crosswalks that were removed over the years, and we're going to have enhanced marking of those crosswalks. Dedicated bus lanes, time-based signal, traffic signal coordination with bus priority. We're also interacting with the City of Cleveland Smart Grant Signal Project, where West 25th is selected as a next-generation TSP corridor. That equipment will be installed in the controllers on the route and will last about 5 or 6 years. At that time, decisions will be made on where to go with the equipment. I mentioned the covered stations with the security cameras and the emergency call boxes and the informational kiosk with the real-time arrival signs. Ohio City is a special portion of the route. We've responded to stakeholders with a number of items. For traffic calming, we're proposing raised crosswalks at Chatham, Gehring, Market, Bridge, and Jay. Lane delineators at 8 specific locations to prevent cars from hopping in the bus lane. And rumble strips, much as we use on Euclid Corridor from Gehring to Bridge. In addition, we're going to renovate the sidewalk and pavers in this area between Market and Bridge, and paint red background on the bus bike only pavement markings between Chatham and Jay through Ohio City. And this adds approximately $500,000 to the project cost. Here are some pictures of the existing corridor. You see looking toward upper left there, looking towards Jay Avenue. There's been some discussion about parking. You may have heard it in the media. I have a couple slides coming up on that. And then you're looking on the next one, the top right, towards Irishtown Bend, where we have more pavement. And then Pearl Road at I-71, and Pearl Road looking north at Devonshire near the southern end of the route. This is a typical section showing dedicated bus lanes that are also used for cyclists and pedestrian flow on both sides of the street. The parking study. There was a parking study of the Market District done in the spring of 2025. The key takeaway from that is that the existing supply of parking is underutilized and will continue to serve demand after removal of on-street parking along portions of West 25th, and that's talking about approximately 70 spaces. This is some graphics from the parking study. What it really shows is there's a lot of parking both on-street and available. Market day peak, about 70% is utilized. So on the peak use of the parking, 70% is utilized, so that's approximately 1,369 spaces. That leaves almost 600 spaces available. So I'm here to tell you that parking is not going to be depleted by this project. There are almost 2,000 spaces in this immediate area of Ohio City. Any questions?
Before we go to questions, I think that last slide is really the source of a lot of debate for this project, primarily from the business owners along the corridor. And as mentioned before, we are continually talking with those business owners and also stakeholders in the community. If I could punt just for a moment to Natoya Walker-Minor, who is over our external affairs and has really also been helping through that process. Natoya, if you want to just give a brief update on where we are in conversations with the community.
Sure. Good morning, Natoya Walker-Minor. We have continued to listen to and hear from the community, as Joe included in this presentation, as a result of meeting with the community, meeting with Ohio City Incorporated, meeting with the business owners, we have added an estimated $500,000 to the project. Those were items that were not included in the project originally that Mike or Joe can speak to much more fluently, but it is representative of the fact that we heard, we listened, and we added an additional $500,000 in safety measures for this community. Tonight, we have a fourth community meeting held with this community. We have heard comments from the community, and overwhelmingly from the community meetings, the community wants this project. There is an estimated 12 to 14 business owners that are continuing to raise questions around the safety components, and as a result, the $500,000, projected $500,000 in safety measures came from those concerns. This project will be safe and add enhancements for this community and efficiency. Mike, would you like to add additional information?
I'll ask you, Mike, if you could talk really quickly to the speed of the corridor. That probably is the biggest concern for safety.
Yeah, one of the aspects of the project, and anyone who's ridden the 51 knows, the 51 is very unreliable. All it takes is one person trying to parallel park to gum up 2 or 3 cycles of a light. In our current 51, the travel times vary from 15 minutes to 29 minutes. And that's a very unreliable setup. And that may not be, and it's sporadic throughout the day. Because once the congested section of the project delays, that delay takes a long time to work itself out. With the BRT concept, with converting to the bus lanes, from a reliability standpoint, we're looking at a travel time that's going to be 12 to 15 minutes. So a huge improvement on the longer time of the range. So if we're running 12 to 15 minutes, our passengers and our customers are not being delayed what could be almost a whole, if we're running 15-minute frequency, being on one of those vehicles that are taking 29 minutes to go 4 miles, they may not be getting to their destination, and they also may be missing their transfers downtown. So the reliability issue is huge. From a speed standpoint, none of it's very fast. I mean, if you're going 3.8 miles in 12 minutes, you're not even going 15 miles an hour. So it's not a speedy thing. What we're trying to do is take a clog out of our system, make it more reliable, so not only does the 51 function better, all the other overlapping buses function better, but our customers also make it to their other connections. So that's a big piece of the reliability focus.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Oh, hi. This is Deidre McPherson. I was happy to see the logo of the Young Latino Network represented on one of the slides. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what their role is in the project.
The project is going to have dual language signage throughout, and there's also been a translation of project documents throughout the project into Spanish. So we consider it to be a bilingual project.
Joe, can you?
Exciting to hear. Thank you.
Joe, can you? You guys are in my mind. I love it. Can you? Can you flip to the blueprint? I think where it had the English Spanish at the top. We were going through our dry run and wanted. There it goes. So you can kind of see at the top headers there, where even as we're taking images out of the project plan, it's already embedded in some of the imagery we've got.
Yeah. And that'll be apparent at all of our public open houses. We've had bilingual materials at all of them, and you'll see that tonight.
no, you go.
Thank you for the overview and the presentation. Could we go back to the road configuration slide? I think it's coming up. Yeah, that one. Just so for clarification, one, helpful to understand the safety enhancements in the Chatham to Bridge J corridor. I think for me, what I'm trying to just get clarification on is, so for the remainder of the shared BRT lane going south from Chatham all the way to State and Pearl, are we saying that is there any delineation beyond the sort of vehicle lanes, or is there no delineation until we get up to Chatham? Are there rumble strips?
Rumble strips, as on Euclid.
That would be the delineation from Chatham south.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think my second question with that is, unlike Euclid, it's a shared corridor, bus and bike. How are we thinking about kind of the negotiation? Here I see the cyclist is in front of the bus. Any discussion on kind of what that negotiation might look like from a bus bike user standpoint?
In terms of utilization of the roadway, the buses, even though they're fairly frequent by our standards, are not really that frequent. There's a lot of space for bicycles to get by without interacting with the bus.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So as a follow-up to that, Trustee Elder, I know we've heard a lot from the small businesses that particularly have lots of concerns, whether they be safety or other things, but have we tapped into, I know we say community, but have we talked to, our stakeholders over at, Bike Cleveland or some of our biking communities? Because I think, at least within my own personal networks, right, there's, I think there's a lot of talk about the shared lane with bus and bike, or, the challenges that may have come with a consideration of separate bike lanes and so on and so forth. So I'm just interested to hear what we have heard from our biking community.
I could say that I've personally presented several times to Bike Cleveland. They've been very positive about the project. In fact, I've been at meetings where some of their members actually spoke up in favor of the project when I was presenting. Mm-hmm. So I believe we've had good contact with them.
Understood. And then Dr. Walker-Minor, you had mentioned how we have garnered the additional $500,000 in additional safety measures that I think came directly from our business community members. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what the concerns actually were? Like what are the safety concerns that they had? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. I think there is a misunderstanding that if we have a bus lane, that is going to be like a highway lane. But the reality is the speed on the bus is not going to be that fast. There were a number of comments relative to pedestrians and jaywalking and how the parking is a buffer separating cars from pedestrians on the sidewalk. But the reality of the street is we have a tremendous jaywalking problem. And it's actually significantly more dangerous because people are darting out from the parked cars into the roadway and getting hit. Mm-hmm. So the parked cars are actually causing a safety problem because of the behavior of the people jaywalking. So by removing that, there's more sight lines for the auto users to see because that lane is now clear. So you have a better view shed of what's going on the street, and the pedestrians probably won't be as emboldened to be jaywalking. That's one reason why we're spending a lot of effort on enhancing the crosswalks. Now, we all know people are going to jaywalk, but if someone's going to jaywalk, they will be much more visible to somebody that's in the car in the center lane. Mm-hmm. So what some people have conveyed as safety problems are really not the way they're being conveyed. Yes, we have a problem with jaywalking. We have an issue because of the parallel parking that cars can't see people when they're darting between. And there's a misconception that just because we have a bus lane that we're going to be going 40 miles an hour down the bus lane, which we're not. And again, with the number of stoplights and bus stops that we have, we're just trying to get the buses to a reliable speed. So, but that, it goes both ways. Some of the other issues have to do with the fact that each one of our bus stations, as Joe mentioned, because of the cameras and the blue light phones, every one of our bus stations is a sanctuary and a safe space. And that's huge. Right now, a normal bus shelter has none of that. So at night, you'll see the blue glow of the blue light phones. You can go there and hit the button, and it goes right to the ICC. So there is a big safety element that we're putting in there with the blue light phone system. That was huge when we did Clifton, and it's huge on the health line because we have people utilizing that as a way to get to safety quickly. Another issue that is a true issue is enforcement. Enforcement of the bus lane is always difficult, and that's something that between our transit police and the city of Cleveland, that is an ongoing battle. And it will be a continued battle, throughout. But that is something that we regularly blitz areas to kind of take the lane back. An occasional illegally parked car is not going to delay the bus like it does when there's no lane to be in. So, that's a big piece of that. Another one of our other safety enhancements by having the bus lane there is for emergency vehicles. Emergency vehicles are stuck in that traffic every day. And we have hospitals on both ends of the project. So whether they're going to Lutheran or whether they're going to Metro, they are stuck. I think, and that is something that by removing the parked cars in that area, we will enhance the safety and the EMS and the emergency vehicle utilization of the corridor, in addition to enhancing the reliability of our bus system. But their reliability, they are stuck.
If I, just for a moment, Mike hit it spot on, all of the high points. The EMS and EMT routing has been an item that has come up in several conversations, online, offline, individual, business owners. Our goal is to be able to make this a safer and more expedient corridor for the current traffic patterns that exist. We are not the keepers of the routing for the ambulances. That has come up in multiple conversations as potentially rerouting their pathways. That is not within the purview of RTA. However, what is within our purview is being able to handle the speed at which we operate down the corridor and making it less of a bottleneck. And that's what really the BRT is seeking to do. So there has been a lot of conversation, and the reason I'm mentioning this is there are quality of life issues that have come up in several of these community meetings that are outside of the purview of this project. Whether it's the lot safety and security behind the businesses, whether it's well lit, whether people feel like their cars are going to be broken into, whether the sidewalks are taken care of in the pedestrian right of way, whether there are e-bikes that are strewn on the sidewalks and people in wheelchairs can't get by them, whether there's litter and trash and lighting and signage and wayfinding. All of these things are important, and it's part of the community engagement process that comes out even when we're explaining our transit project. So the City of Cleveland is there, the community members are there, the council folks are there. Ms. Welch, as I'm pointing to the chair that's empty, we'll discuss that, now is part of that process. And that same thing with the former Councilman McCormick. I want to mention was a very big champion of the project, continues to be, and was part of the conversation that we navigated that led to the $500,000 safety improvement process. And so we, I don't want to say eradicated, but we satisfied those requests to that tune. So I just want to make sure that we're also thinking about it's a holistic process. We're definitely willing to tweak and tweak and tweak, but I think we've reached our limitation for tweaking without getting rid of the BRT. And so that continues to be the conversation, that we need to take a 360 view of not just the transit impact, but also the community concerns that we're hearing that extend beyond just the mobility. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, no, that's extremely helpful, and I think it's important for the viewers to understand that, there are lots of issues, if RTA can, attack them and address them, and it's within our purview, then we make sure to do that. But this also just highlights the community engagement piece of projects like this on this scale, that it takes a lot of different stakeholders to be involved, to get buy-in, and to address, all the things that come with the territory. So thank you.
And in closing, I'd like to draw your attention to this infographic where we've squeezed as many facts about the project as we could get on a sheet of paper.
I do have one more question,
Yes.
if you don't mind. I was just, for those of us who, aren't going to all the community meetings and aren't as close to the project, I just wonder if, I heard you say, for example, that unlike the health line on Euclid, there is a shareway for the buses and the bikers. Are there other things like that that are major differences in terms of features or infrastructure that you can call out? I know there's probably a lot, but just at a very high level, what are the major differences between the two?
To try to answer your question, on Euclid Avenue, there's center stations in the downtown segment. We have all curbside stations.
So for something like that, is that going to, is that where you see the major cost differences in the two projects, or implications for timelines?
Well, on Euclid, we redid the street building face to building face, including all the utilities. We put wires underground, we replaced water, sewer, and gas lines. That was a total reconstruction. This, we're only resurfacing the street and then repairing the sidewalks where they need it.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, only a couple questions, but plenty of comments. The first of which is to thank you all for the work on this one. The guarding those bus lanes, I know, was a bit of a pain, but very important. And actually, to that extent, we talk about businesses pushing back on some of this, but I actually think more of them have been supportive than anything, and then a few loud ones have talked a bit more. Evidence is pretty clear that businesses do better when this kind of facility goes in. There's more riders, there's more spend in the neighborhood, there's more, if they're picking a destination of where to go to, if this is the easiest way to get to a bar, a restaurant, a store, they take it as opposed to getting in their car and going to the mall. That's fairly clear. If there's a few businesses that get grumpy about parking, that probably more reflects the fact that local businesses sometimes overestimate how many of their customers come and park right in front of their stores. Also, that parking is always full. So I can guarantee you that not a lot of people are using that parking. The other thing is that that parking causes congestion, and that people are circling over and over and over again trying to find an empty spot on the street, which is a lot of the congestion along the corridor. So getting rid of that, especially when there's a giant parking lot behind West Side Market, is going to be very beneficial for the corridor and for safety. I also do appreciate the businesses that push back on safety issues, and the added $500,000 for safety measures, including those 4 raised crosswalks, I think are going to be very valuable for the area. I'm one of those people that cross outside crosswalks all the time. And while I can see the point of it feeling a little bit less safe, I also agree with Mike that the evidence is also clear on safety, that when you have those sight lines without the parking on the street, it gets safer. It's been documented. So I really appreciate the patience and outreach and the intentionality that's been taken here with some of the conversation around this. And I also appreciate being able to take some of the safety concerns to heart and actually adjusting. I do have a couple questions or recommendations, I guess, to follow up on Trustee Love's question about south of Chatham and what that'll look like in terms of delineation. No problem with the current setup. I would say we might want to take a look at how the delineators work around in the West Side Market area, and if they are very beneficial, and if we do in the future with development or anything else, if we do identify other areas, thinking about Centro Villa specifically, especially as the lot across the street is going to be developed, if there are other areas that could benefit from safety measures like that, if we should keep an eye on those as an authority and maybe work with the city if those do develop over time, that we might have to make some adjustments. Also, I believe the current design doesn't have any removals of any stops. I would just say, as I will always say, take a look at that and see if there aren't any places that low usage might garner some removals in order to speed this up more for riders. As I've said before, I know every stop has its own constituency, and that's hard. And when they're located very close together, it ends up slowing down vehicles. And then the last point was, I lost my train of thought on that one. At any rate, I do appreciate doing as much as possible here, especially some of the loud voices in opposition. But I do think that we're on the right side of this one, and I do think that dedicated bus lane and guarding it is going to be very meaningful. So I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. Good job.
Thank you. We will take your recommendations back and monitor and come back to you with any
I remember
updates.
my final thought.
Yep.
Enforcement. I think I've mentioned anyway, there are plenty of places that now are using camera enforcement, and I know we'll get to that at some point, but this might be the conversation between us and Cleveland figuring out. But there are places that now have cameras mounted on the buses that do their own enforcement, and I believe we're legally allowed to do that for non-moving violations. So that might be something that we have.
We'll take a look and review. Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Okay, you're welcome.
I believe that is it for under Committee of the Whole. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, Love.
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
I will call to order this, excuse me, meeting of the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee at 10:12. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Sleesman?
Here.
Mayor Gallo?
Here.
Mr. Love? Here. Reverend Lucas? We have a quorum.
We have one item today on our agenda. It is if I can find my agenda. Presentation on architect and engineering services for Blue Line Stations reconstruction RFP procurement. And we will have a presentation from, who's over there? Brian Temming and Jonathan Lawley. The floor is yours, fellas.
Morning, Chair Sleesman, members of the committee and board. Again, my name is Brian Temming. I am manager of quality assurance for the engineering division. I'm serving as a project manager for this design project. So I'll present a quick overview, then I'll turn over to Jonathan to go through the procurement overview. So this project involves the reconstruction of 8 Blue Line stations. These stations were last rebuilt in the early 80s and have reached the end of their useful life. The primary objective of this project is 1, to bring the stations into ADA compliance, and 2 is they will be designed to accommodate our new rail car fleet. This is a map showing the locations of those stations. Again, they're on the Blue Line. It's going to focus in on the 8 non-ADA compliant stations. So these are kind of the last remaining stations along the Blue Line that aren't compliant. So these are just a few images of those stations. You kind of see the deteriorated condition. The one all the way on the left is of Linfield Station. That's just the edge of the platform. There have been a few where we've repaired this edge, but a lot of locations it's starting to crumble, fall apart. The middle is of Drexmoor. This is one of the ADA, or I shouldn't say ADA, one of the rail crossings. Again, they're the old timber crossings, so again, not 8-acre plant like our newer precast ones that we put in our. And the last image is of one of the parking lots at Avalon. So again, consistent throughout this corridor, a lot of the parking lots, the asphalt's starting to crack up and come apart. So just a few of the design elements of the station. So this image is of our Lee Shaker station on the Green Line. We're using this kind of as our prototype. So a lot of the same features and functionality will be built into these 8 stations. Throughout the project, we'll replace all the platforms. One thing we are going to do is evaluate switching the platforms to far side stops. This would be after the intersection. What this allows our trains to get through the intersection before they have to stop, so they don't get stopped at lights. Also, to allow us a lot of the locations to construct the stations while keeping the original stations open. The other thing we'll do is we'll repave the existing parking lots, and as part of that, we're going to provide new curb ramps and sidewalks, again, to provide ADA access to those parking lots. And then to provide access to the trains for ADA, we'll construct the mini-high platforms. Those are those kind of the image you see, that little kind of ramp that takes you up to the door of the platform. Door of the train. Some of the other things we'll be doing is replacing all the crossings of the track with new precast ADA crossings. We'll provide new emergency call boxes, cameras, and install new lighting throughout the stations. And also for the protection on the stations, we'll provide new shelters, site furnishings, and real-time signage. Currently, there's a project underway along the Blue Line, or all the light rail, to replace the shelters and incorporate the signage. For this project, what we'll do is we'll salvage those items to reinstall in the new stations. So we'll design the configuration in order to accommodate those, and then purchase new matching amenities. The construction budget for this is $15 million. It is funded through the All Station Accessibility Program, or ASAP. This is the same grant that we're using to fund the construction of the 79th Blue and Green Line station that's under construction right now. Our anticipated schedule is designed through next year. We'll bid it over the wintertime to start construction in the spring of 2027. Construction again will take about 15 months, and this will kind of align a little bit for when we're anticipating the new rail service, or the new rail cars going into service on the light rail. With that, I will turn over to Jonathan, go through the procurement overview.
Good morning, Chairman Sleesman, members of the committee, members of the board. Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager for this project. The request for proposal was issued on June 30th of 2025. 22 interested parties reviewed the solicitation. 3 firms proposed, 3 firms were interviewed. The evaluation panel members for this project came from the Engineering Project Development Department, the Office of Management and Budget, Operations, Safety Department, Office of Business Development, as well as Procurement. The criteria for this project came from the Brooks Act, and it's as follows: the project manager, the assigned staff, past performance, project approach, location of majority of work, and DB participation were all used as criteria for this selection. The most technically qualified vendor for this project was Richard L. Bowen and Associates. They'll be using Denise's Flagging and G&T Associates Incorporated to meet the 7% DB participation goal assigned to this project. Richard L. Bowen and Associates has successfully completed projects for the RTA, Stark Area RTA, Central Ohio Transit Authority, among others. They are a multidisciplinary firm that have knowledgeable staff and a good understanding of this project's objectives. The staff requests this committee recommend award to Richard L. Bowen and Associates Incorporated for this project in an amount not to exceed $1,239,711.92. Questions?
Thanks for the presentation, guys. Are there any questions from the committee or the rest of the board members?
This is just for my own education, about the far side stops that you mentioned, the exploration of whether or not that, why weren't they originally built that way?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't know if from operations would know that answer. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We'll find
right.
we'll find the history department and ask them.
Joel Freilich, I don't think is in the room. He's usually our historian for that kind of thing. We'll find out.
I'll give one other.
Well, I can respond a little bit. I mean, the issue with near side, far side start really that issue came up maybe about 20 years ago, where the idea of getting stops on the far side would be a way of speeding transit service. Again, this line was built in 1980, and that was a redo of what had been done in the 20s. So, you got to remember that original Shaker line was built, when cars were still kind of at their baby beginning. So there's been a lot of things happening, but 25 years ago, the concept of far side stops was one that, we tried to incorporate into the health line, not 100%, but 90%. And we see that that's a huge opportunity here. We spend a lot of time coordinating with Shaker and the Shaker Police Department, with the blockout no left turn signs that we have on the light rail now. And I think it's our belief that if we can move some more of these stations to far side, those intersections will be a lot safer. We kind of coast through the intersections now, but we think that will give us a little bit more speed, probably add to the safety, and as Brian mentioned, it will allow us to keep some of these stations open while we're doing the construction. So there's a number of benefits, but 100 years ago, we were looking at a totally different transportation network.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
I was just going to add that one of our resident historians also has described that for some period of times, the trains in Shaker ran on the opposite side of the track, and so they ran what would be counterflow.
That's interesting. All right, sorry. That was the one piece, by the way, that I also caught, and yeah, the fact that you sometimes get caught on these trains, both either picking up or dropping off passengers and caught at a red light, is frustrating, I know, and actually, even as a driver, I think if we can do our part to make some of those intersections, which were clearly built in the 1920s, a little bit less confusing for drivers and pedestrians as well, that'd be a great opportunity. All right, do I have any other questions? All right, if we don't have any, do I have a motion for the resolution? I will move to pass the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The resolution passes, and this item will come to the full board. That is our only item, so do I have a move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 10:22.
Mayor Kumar? Ms. Elder?
Here.
Mr. Love? Reverend Lucas? Ms. McPherson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have one item today, a Community Advisory Council update, and Dr. Natoya Walker-Minor is here, and I'll let you lead off.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Kumar and the board. We are here, and I am here today with Dr. Joseph Safko, who is the chair of the Community Advisory Committee. The Community Advisory Committee, commonly known as the CAC, was re-energized in 2023. Section 222.04 of the Codified Rules and Regulations of the Board of Trustees, otherwise known as the Code Book, governs the CAC. Section 222.04F requires the board to approve the CAC's operating guidelines. We used 2025 to really review how we were operating, how we were functioning, how we could best become more functional. In doing that, we reviewed the operating guidelines and made recommendations for additions, deletions, and amendments to the operating guidelines. I will go through the summary of the proposed changes. Number one, providing that the chair of the CAC will periodically make a report regarding CAC activities to the board liaison for presentation to the Board of Trustees. Number two, requiring the CAC and subcommittee meeting minutes to be posted on the CAC webpage. Number three, permitting subcommittees to elect a temporary chair if the subcommittee chair is absent from a meeting. Number four, identifying a process for appointing CAC members to subcommittees. Most of these were driven by our chair, Dr. Joseph Sopko, in effort to ensure that our CAC is highly functional, working with impact. At this time, Dr. Sopko will share a few items. Dr. Sopko, just by reference, is a retired physician who worked at St. Vincent's Charity Medical Center. He is a lifelong Northeastern Ohio resident, calling Shaker Square his home. He is also a lifelong transit customer and an advocate.
Thank you very much. Since riding the Red Line, it was CTS in those days, from Triscuit to St. Ignatius and then on to John Carroll, thank you very much. This committee, the Community Advisory Committee, had a predecessor, the Citizens Advisory Board. Actually, I was on that since 2012, so I've been following the history of this for a while. We are volunteers. We are passionate users of public transit, and we enjoy a close working relationship with RTA management, which has just gotten stronger under our new leadership. We also are working closely with the new customer experience group, which really dovetails very much with what our interests are. These changes in our operating guidelines will greatly facilitate our work, and the members of this committee, if anything, are eager to do more, particularly in areas. We have three subcommittees. The ADA subcommittee, where we actually go to sites and look at ADA compatibility issues. It's a particular interest of mine as a physician, how that works for our disabled customers. And also we have a advocacy and education group, which is really dedicated to increasing ridership, public transit ridership in our community. So we really are eager to do more to assist the RTA in its work, and this is an important step forward for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sopko. I'd also like to acknowledge there are two other members of the CAC in here today. We have Lou here in the front row, and we also have Brian Givens in the back row. At this time, staff requests that the External and Stakeholder Relations and Advocacy Committee recommend these revisions to this CAC operating guidelines to the Board of Trustees for approval.
Great, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions from the committee members or the board at large?
No questions, just comments. I appreciate the work of the CAC. I had an opportunity to attend just one subcommittee meeting to see how passionate the group is and all the work that you're doing. So I'm excited that these measures are a step forward to make for more efficiency and work to be done. And I look forward to continuing to work with you guys.
Thank you.
I just want to echo that. I'm the board liaison for the committee, Trustee McPherson, and just happy to see the work and progress that we've made, that the committee's made. Thank you, Dr. Sopko, and other members that are here for your dedicated work to strengthen the relationship with management, and just excited for the work ahead. So thank you.
Thank you.
Emily?
Sorry, just a question for clarification. I really enjoyed reading through this because I'm not a member, and I actually read the whole the code. In the section 7, we had just talked about the subcommittees, and then we went into talking about who sets the agendas. And by the way, everything looks great, and everything made sense. But here I was just curious, is it the chair of the CAC that sets the agendas or the chair of the subcommittee that sets the agendas? I didn't know who it was referring to.
That would be, for the actual CAC, the main committee, it would be the chairperson of CAC. And for the subcommittees, it's the chairs of the subcommittees, which we have recently just appointed or elected those in those subcommittees. So they set their own agendas at the subcommittee level.
And I can list Alicia Howerington is the chair of the ADA subcommittee. Cole Ware is the chair of the Advocacy and Education Subcommittee, and Johnny Brewington is the chair of the Rules Committee.
Okay, so then the subcommittee chairs and the chair of CAC together set the agendas?
It's a tight working
Okay.
relationship.
Yeah, I would,
As chair of CAC, I attend all of the subcommittees as well.
okay.
So we are in close communication.
So that was just one suggestion for clarification, that might be chairs instead of chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Again, great service to RTA and to the community. Really appreciate the time that you've put into this committee, and very helpful that you have a long history with the various components that we've had in the past. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. And if I could, just a point, since I'm at the mic, I'd like to thank Don Tarka, who really worked very closely with me, leading me through this with Dr. Sopko, making sure that we got it right. And so I just want to thank Don for her leadership and support. Thank you.
I do have one more question, sorry, just as a follow-up to Trustee Pachetti on the point of who sets the agenda. For clarification, so in reading this, it's CAC and subcommittee meeting agenda shall be set by the chair, which I think prompted her question. But then it also says, and authority staff. So just on an interpretation level, is authority staff, could that possibly include the subcommittee chair? Or to Trustee Pachetti's point, should that say that the agenda shall be set by the chair and the respective subcommittee chair? Just as a point of clarification.
Sure. Don, can you answer that question for me?
Let me ask Brent, can you hand her a mic? It might be easier. Thanks.
Thank you.
Because I think that if the authority staff includes subcommittee chair, then I think that's fine. But if it doesn't, then you might want to add that in to her point.
To respond, the term authority staff typically refers to employees of RTA and not members of the CAC.
Got it.
So I appreciate and agree with the suggestion to refer to subcommittee chairs, and I can make that revision to the red line so that the version you see when the resolution is presented will include that.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Cool.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Anything else? If not, I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the full board as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Thank you.
Second, Love.
Thank you,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. I believe that is our only item under the committee today. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, Trustee Elder.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. I'd like to call to order the nominating committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Here?
Mr. Love,
Here?
Mayor Gallo, Ms. Pachetti,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much for that, Brent. We're having this committee meeting today because I think all of you had received the letter from Ms. Welsh that she is effective, I believe it was March 6th on Monday, took over October 6th, right, okay, thank you. A role in Cleveland City Council, and from Cleveland's perspective, she could not serve on the RTA board, so she did resign effective March 3rd. And so we do have a vacancy there, but we want to go through, as she was the serving VP for RTA on the board. I'm going to turn this over to the chair of the committee, Mr. Love, Trustee Love, to talk further on that process for reappointing a replacement.
Thank you, Mayor Kumar. As Article 2, Section 5 of the bylaws requires that the unexpired term of the vice president should be filled by a majority of the board. We are hoping to receive those letters of interest from board members by October 14th, so a week from today. And our intention is to fill the vacancy in the vice president's seat at the board meeting on October 21st. During that meeting, we will vote publicly as we did for the 2025 annual meeting, and again, that will be for the unexpired term, which would then be valid through the annual meeting in March of 2026. Are there any questions regarding the nomination process? Okay. If none, then I will motion to adjourn the ad hoc nominating committee. Do I have a question. Okay.
I don't know if this is the best time, but I was at City Council last night to watch Lauren being sworn in for her position in Ward to represent Ward 3, and I just wanted to, since we haven't really done this, say some words here and thanks. This is a person with an acute sense of service and dedication who served this board very well for the few years she was here. I would actually recommend finding the council meeting recording and watching it. She was able to deliver some words, and even especially she noted that she's only going to be on council for a few months, but that short duration does not necessarily mean a lack of impact, a lack of dedication, a lack of focus, a lack of service. And a couple of years on this board may also seem like a short duration, but she delivered a lot in that time and was very impressive. And I also do not envy whoever has to find an MC for this year's receptions.
It will still be Ms. Welch.
Ah, excellent. We should just keep bringing her back for that. I was going to say, if you wanted to have a nice nap time instead of a banquet, I'll do it. But yeah, exactly.
We need a bilingual interpreter. I'll hit you.
I'll do that part of it. But I just wanted to say a few words of thanks because she was great in this position, and we'll see if there's a return. But even if not, it's been a great impact that she's left here.
Well, and I want to echo Trustee Sleesman's comments because had the ability to work with her as the chair of the COC, and that was getting that up and running was a big, heavy lift. I know she worked with the transit police and management, and we went through the interview process to make sure we had a very balanced group on the COC, and she really put a ton of effort into that. And that's one of those committees that you don't see here on a Tuesday, but required a lot of time outside of normal board meetings to get that up and operational. So that COC position, as well as the chair for external affairs, as we get a vice president appointed, we'll need to go back and look at that committee structure and get those positions filled as well. But really that, for that one committee, that was a ton of hours on her behalf. Just the interview process, the ride-alongs with transit police, and being involved in that. So I want to thank her for her service there as well. And then I think if we're done, we make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.